Money can be big and small, just like people, but this is if you look at it as a whole. But if you look at big money from the point of view of managing it, it is not much different from small money. In this article, dear friends, I would like to talk about big money, because I know what it is, unlike many of you who only dream of it. Of course, I will not say that I had really big money that I had nowhere to put, but still, these were very decent amounts that I needed to manage wisely. I had both my own and other people's money in large quantities, and I must say that they did not affect my internal state in any way. Why, yes, because money does not spoil and does not change people in general if they are ready for it, but when money falls on your head like snow, then expect trouble, especially if we are talking about big money. In my article called Saving Money, I write that saving money is the first step to making big money, unless of course you are a genius and can make a lot of money at once by implementing some brilliant plan. Of course, it is not about making money. It is simply impossible to make a lot. You can only steal a lot, to put it bluntly, or collect it from a large number of people, to put it more gently. But this is not even important. It is important to be able to manage a lot of money, which, by the way, is not so easy. I know that many people think, and I am often told, that if they had a lot of money, they would certainly manage it properly and would definitely solve their financial problems once and for all. The whole problem is that they don't have this money, but they do have the ability to manage it. But this is not so. Believe me, a lot of money does not solve anything. If you cannot wisely manage the amount that you already have, then even big money will pass through you like water through a sieve. And what is the point of big money then? It will accumulate into big problems for you, that's all. Where does big money live? If you think about big money, then you probably wonder where you can get such money. After all, no matter how much you run your head through thoughts, you will not get more money from this if you do nothing. And thoughts about money, and most importantly a strong desire to have it and in as much quantity as possible, often lead people to the idea of easy and fast money, which is quite natural, given our big desires. In the article, which is called Easy Money, I write about what easy money is, what the pursuit of such money can lead to, and whether such money exists in nature at all. However, what is there to reason about? If someone, chasing big and easy money, loses the last thing he has, then it is obvious that someone acquires it, and therefore gets rich, so for him the dreams of big and very fast money are not just dreams. And yet, where does this big money live? How to get it? What should be done for this? Well, first it should be noted that money itself does not mean anything, but the people who work for it, they are the ones who produce real values, and they, people, even not rich, have a lot of money. More money is found where there is power. This is obvious. If you become an official, you will have the opportunity to rob people. There is money in business, which also robs people, but less cynically. After all, people do not pay for air, but for goods or services. Well, of course, money lives in your heads. If you find a way to take at least a little money from a large number of people, in total it will turn out to be a very decent amount. You see what I'm getting at? Now you can do whatever you want, just remember to pay taxes. You can even cast out the devil, even trade air, or actually sell something valuable, for example, an information product via the internet. Unfortunately, taking advantage of such freedom, many people fool people. The so-called scams have become such a common occurrence that you no longer know where the truth is and where the lie is. For me, this is simply a manifestation of weakness and impudence, because only a person with limited knowledge can be deceived, which is what scammers use, while it is quite possible to earn, practically without working, very large amounts of money and be useful to other people. In addition, this is a long-term solution to the problem of money, while fraud extremely limits further work with people, whose trust is greatly undermined. In general, the essence is this: money is with people, and any opportunity that life gives us in terms of fleecing these people is a way to get big money, which, as you understand, is the result of someone else's work. Do not focus your attention on a specific activity if you need money. Think figuratively, delve into the essence, and the necessary ideas will certainly visit your head. For example, I had one friend who said that big money can only be made on oil, sit on the pipe and pump oil, and do not need to do anything else. Well, yes, this is true. Considering the great need of a huge number of people for oil, you can earn a lot on it, but is this the only way? Is there nothing else? Yes, of course there is. There are many things, and it is not at all necessary that you will work a lot. Just if you turn on your brain, then in this life you can find cushy places. There are activities, doing which, you can have a lot of money, and there are activities, the income from which is minimal. At school, of course, you are taught the type of activity that you will never do in your right mind, while more profitable options are a dark forest for most people. Many people do not know how to do business because they have no idea what it is. Someone working for themselves calls it business. Someone even calls working for another person business, paradoxically. But it is in business that big money lies, because business works with a large number of people, both rich and not so rich, and the more successful it is, the greater its turnover, and the greater the remainder, called net profit. Politics and big money. But business is by no means the best thing in this life. There is also politics, and therefore power, which some people strive for so much and for good reason. If you are engaged in business, then neither you, nor the money you earn in it, nor the business itself, are protected from those who can take it all away from you. Business people obey the law, and the law is written by the legislative power, or rather it invents it, and it is developed and written by smart boys and girls, whose intelligence is only enough for obsequiousness and servility. And if you make up a law, if you commit violence against everyone you want in this way, then will you have problems with money, and this is the least of the problems that can exist. When you are in power, you think only about one thing, how to preserve it and how to make it absolute, which is quite natural and normal, and money, you don't even need it if the power is really big. Money, of course, gives power, and I wrote about this in my article called The Power of Money. And you can talk as much as you like about the possibilities of money, about what kind of power it gives to a person, but the fact that power itself can give you so much money that your eyes will pop out is for sure. It is profitable to exercise power, but at the same time it is difficult. It is not like growing cucumbers in a garden. It requires a special way of thinking, which must be developed. Meanwhile, people say that they are outside of politics, that power does not interest them and that they have other interests in life, as if this position of detachment will make their life easier. None of us like to submit to the will of others. No one wants to be a slave in this life, and at the same time, everyone wants to live well. But at the same time, few do what is necessary for all this, preferring to believe in all sorts of adventures and miracles, rather than look the truth in the eye. Yes, power is not for children. There are serious people there who will not spare even their own mother for the sake of power, but is it scary, considering that being out of power, you are just a sheep that can always be eaten? Decide this question for yourself. In the end, this article is not about power, but about money, but about big money, and this means a lot. Managing big money. No matter how you have big money, you need to know how to manage it, which I have already emphasized above, and now I will tell you more about it. Money gives you both strength and power, and being in power, you have opportunities, the competent use of which will allow you to constantly increase your money. That is why the rich become even richer, because they know how to handle money, and the poor, of course, become even poorer, because they do not have this skill. And I strongly recommend that you start managing small amounts of money at first, well, in general, those that you currently have available. Make 2,000 out of 1, learn to save, learn to store your money wisely, so as not to lose it. By the way, in my article called Where to Store Money, I examine this issue from different points of view. Thus, By taking control of small amounts of money, managing them as wisely as possible, you will not only be able to manage larger amounts in a similar way, but will also come much closer to them. This is generally natural. A person who manages money skillfully simply cannot be poor. He will automatically come to big money, like a person digging a hole. Sooner or later he will dig it out. But if you do not know how to manage money, then, even taking into account the fact that you have it, you simply will not be able to hold on to it and will eventually lose it, and your life will get worse. Do not think that if you do not know how to manage small money, you will learn to manage large ones. This is not true. You do not have money because you do not know what and how to do with it. Once upon a time I had little money and of course not much intelligence, so I lost what I had, falling into various adventures, making mistakes and making serious mistakes. As a result, I lost money, and it was very sad, but fortunately I did not lose much money, simply not having any, so I learned from my mistakes, relatively cheaply. Of course, losses as such in life are inevitable. You will always lose something, especially money. Life, as we know, consists of both black and white stripes. But why make mistakes, the meaning of which comes down to elementary things in understanding? Why stumble upon a rake, which you can in principle bypass, having only an idea of their presence? This is not necessary, and you will not make mistakes with money if you first learn to manage them, and then make in the amount you need. In fact, one leads to another. Lost money, my friends, is not the money you have lost in the literal sense of the word, but the money you never had. It is big money that passes by your hands every day, settling in other people's pockets and making someone else's life more beautiful. And this is really big money, and it is really sad when you begin to realize this, although it is quite natural. I mean that if you want to earn really big money, you need to risk small money, but not in terms of investing it, as various smart guys who want to make a buck off you advise you, but in terms of refusing to work for it. That is, I want to say that while you work for pennies, trying to somehow raise your salary, you miss a lot of opportunities to start making really normal money, and not chase after small change. Maybe not everyone will go into politics, maybe not everyone will be able to run a big business, but at least you can work for yourself. It doesn't take much, just a little intelligence and take responsibility for yourself. People often get very upset when they lose money, especially small ones, but are somehow indifferent to the fact that there are people around them who work little, but earn a lot. Just think about the amount of money you miss every day. It could well be yours. You are no worse than those who rake it in like a shovel. My article called Time and Money will help you connect these two concepts, and I think it will be useful for you to read it to fully understand these lines of mine. I am not telling you a recipe for making $1 million in a couple of days. Stop believing in all this nonsense. Just tune into the right thought wave and you will understand for yourself what and how you should do to earn a lot of money. You can make 10 million in an hour, but to do this, you need to understand the principle of earning big money, and this is impossible for a person who has been taught for a quarter of his life to hold a hoe in his hands and plow from morning to night. Not just big, but huge amounts of money pass you by, and they can settle in the pockets of people, some of whom you would call outright idiots, but they, meanwhile, have learned such an important thing as making money. You can be a very smart and educated person, terribly well-read and well-mannered. You can generally be good, the kind that everyone likes, but if you do not have money, if you have not learned how to make it, you will always be kicked in the ass. This is how the world works. Nothing can be done about it. Weak people are poor people, and in order to become strong, you need to become rich, or have power, and then have money, and with their help control people. Therefore, no matter how old you are and how you treat money, study it, delve into its essence. I will write more than one useful article for you, including how to create a business, in everyday life and on the internet, how to attract people to your business, how to be an intermediary between the customer and the contractor, having a percentage from this, all this and much more you will find on this site. But in order to perceive all this, to learn to live as a person, you must have a desire. This is the most difficult thing, believe me, not technical knowledge, but a question of desire. Only having the desire to study the issue of money, you will have money, really big money, and even if they are not the most important thing in this life, but they must be there to understand this, otherwise these are empty words and nothing more.